Okay, Ujjayi breath. Welcome back, by the way. So, Ujjayi breath, it can get slightly complicated, but yet it's actually not at all. And I think we as human beings tend to complicate things in general. So, I want you to try and remember to keep this one pretty simple. So, there's dynamics in the breath that we follow in yoga. And with those dynamics, we're accomplishing different things. We're working on our nervous system, we're working on calming our thoughts. Everything kind of follows each other, right? But when we talk about breath, it's breath to body movement. So when you breathe in and you're in class, typically we will cue, if the teacher's cueing, pretty on point. Then when you open up in your front line, meaning right here, that's when you'll inhale. When you're closing your front line, that's when you exhale. Some of the poses get a little bit tricky when it comes to am I opening or am I closing, because they're a side stretch, right? So technically it could be either, because you're kind of scrunching here, but you're opening up here. So what would determine that would be, let's say I'm in a warrior two and I'm reversing. I'll pause and I'll take a breath in, and then I use the exhale to go down into my low chaturanga, and then I'll breathe in on the up dog and then exhale into down dog. Okay? Accomplishing a lot of things physiologically, but we're also accomplishing things energetically. So we have chakras, which I've already talked about in some of the videos, and those are so chakra means wheel in Sanskrit, and our chakras go, well, they're everywhere. We have major, minor, and mini, but the main ones go up and down our spine. And so there's one in the front and there's one in the back. So think of like a pumping system, and that pumps energy in and out of these chakras, okay, and helps it to flow through your system. So then you get an energetic cleansing. So those movements, right, that we do in our body, in addition to the breath, are also helping the chakras pump. Now, when we add Ujjayi breath, okay, our lungs expand. We're trying to breathe in air. Our belly distends. That allows our diaphragm to kind of come down a little bit. It drops at the top, makes like a heart shape, right? Making space for our lungs. Our intercostals will lift up in our rib cage. All of this happens in order to take a breath in and allow space for that air to fill up our lungs. Now, what I see a lot of people doing in yoga is they're crunching down. So when I say something like halfway lift, I want you to open up in your front line in that halfway lift, okay? Because people will do this. This is still crunching in your front line, so you're not actually opening up and allowing that space so these dynamics can happen with your breath. The purpose of a halfway lift is to breathe in, okay? So try and be mindful of that. Now combine that with Ujjayi breath. Ujjayi breath is where you constrict your throat. Actually, I think I did a video on Ujjayi breath, maybe. Well, if not, you get a double whammy. I mean, if I did, you get a double whammy. So it's constricting your throat. So you want to bring your chin kind of up and in and cause this little like constriction here, and you'll make a sound. So think of it as like fogging up a mirror, but your mouth is closed, okay? Like that. You probably couldn't hear it, but it makes almost like a wind sound. Some call it like Darth Vader, or, like something's constricting the flow, basically. So with that said, lots happens with Ujjayi breath. We are targeting our vagus nerve because it's a low, deep belly breath. In addition to that, we are constricting that flow for energy as well as physiology, okay? So physiology meaning it will activate our nervous system as well as deactivate our nervous system. So more of a sympathetic and parasympathetic tone, because breath often is either one or the either versus a balancing type thing that happens. So with the inhale, every time you breathe in, you vasodilate, which means your blood vessels kind of get bigger, right? Which allows more blood flow and allows more oxygen, activates our nervous system, which increases everything, right? Now on the inhale, the opposite is happening. So that's why we kind of cue, watching your breath, longer, deeper exhale, means more of a parasympathetic tone. Longer, deeper inhale versus exhale is going to be the opposite. Now with your Ujjayi breath, you're targeting both, okay? So it can help calm your nervous system, but give you energy. There's also like 60% oxygen saturation, which is really good for a specific pranayama, that does both. And the main thing about Ujjayi breath that I do want to talk about is people can overbreathe, but they can also underbreathe. Now, it affects our pH, it affects our energy level, it basically affects everything. I could sit here for hours, honestly, and talk about breath. But what you want to do is pranayama is actually considered a controlled breath, not Ujjayi, but pranayama is life force energy, meaning energy, right, with our air coming in and out. And then that life force energy is pumped through our system through the breath, okay? But it's a controlled breath so that we can contain the energy as well as, I guess you could say, the oxygen, right, that flows through. And that's what starts to help us with having more energy, having more oxygen saturation, and we feel like we can go longer within our practice. So that's just kind of like a small little piece of it, but I feel like it's the most important stuff that I wanted to talk about. And so it's a controlled breath versus a forced breath or an under breath. Now, some people, when they do Ujjayi breath, they feel like they can't breathe. So my suggestion would be practice it a lot until you find that space where it's comfortable. And it's a long, deep inhale and exhale. It's not super loud. If people cue it super loud, they're typically cueing it incorrectly. Okay, it's just a controlled, slow, long, deep breath in and out. Okay, so that's what you want to practice when you do Ujjayi breath. Now, let's see, in addition to that, so I covered box breath, a physiological sigh. I love this because there's science behind this one, and I think for a lot of years, I was considered a little flu because I did this stuff, but now there's a lot of science to back it up, which I love. So when it comes to the physiological sigh, this is something that can like instantly calm your nervous system and get us out of a fight or flight situation. So people with anxiety, or just maybe kind of an overactive nervous system all the time or in any situation. And so what that looks like is you want to breathe all your air in. You'll go slow. And then once you're full, you slowly control the exhale. And you just keep going and going and going. So what you're doing is you're making that exhale really long and really deep as you breathe that air out. And so again, science to back up pretty much all of these. I think other than Ujjayi breath, I haven't been able to find anything on that yet. And then one of the other things about Ujjayi breath, which I really like, is they call it the Ajapa meditation, which is a mantra basically for our mind. It means unspoken mantra. So mantra means tool. It's a tool for our mind, right? And then in addition to that, it's unspoken. So all we're doing is focusing on our breath and listening to the sound as we breathe and moving our body. So moving meditation. And that's all I had for you from season 2, Deep Roots. Let's see if there's anything else. Oh, intention. Let's talk about intention versus autopilot. So intention is slowly, methodically moving your body. So you're in your body and you know what your body is doing. And a good way to do this is just slow things down. Focus, where am I placing my foot? Are my shoulders back and down? Is my chin up and in? Am I doing Ujjayi breath? Am I doing regular breath, right? So everything where we just kind of get on autopilot sometimes in a vinyasa class, because it's easy to do, especially if we're going fast. Maybe just slow it down and stop for a minute and notice, how am I moving my body? Am I excessively moving my body so that I'm, chaotic and all over the place? Or am I taking my time with my placement and prepping myself for each pose that I'm moving into? So yeah, that's all I had. Namaste.